of the words of the Master, the Sermon on the Mount, Part 2. Last week we looked at the Beatitudes, and this week we're going to deal with Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 48, and also Luke 6, 27 through 30, and also 32 through 36. There's a verse in the middle, verse 31, that actually is connected with another account. So that's why I didn't just say 27 through 36.
You said those verses again, right?
I said so many numbers. Matthew 5, 21 through 48.
21 to what?
48.
48.
Yeah. And Luke chapter 6, 27 through 30. And 30 through 36.
30.
Yeah. Verse 31 is excluded.
31.
Yeah, that'll be excluded. We'll talk about that on next week. Okay, so we're looking at the Sermon on the Mount. We'll go ahead, let's see, we'll go ahead and read. Let's go ahead and read the verses. When we look at Luke's portion, 6, 27 through 30, 32 through 36, it kind of connects more so with the second half of Matthew's account. We'll notice that when we read through it. We'll go ahead and read through Matthew chapter 5, 21 through 48, and then we'll look at Luke, and then we'll go back and talk about it all. There's a lot of things to be said over here. We'll see how much we can get through here, but if we go ahead and start at Matthew 5, verse 21, let's go ahead and read down 48, the end of the chapter, I believe, right?
Yeah. 21 to 48, right?
Yeah.
Matthew 5:21. You heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that whoever is wroth with his brother without a cause shall be liable to judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Rakah, shall be liable to the Sanhedrin. But whoever says, you fool, shall be liable to the fire of Gehenna. If then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, and there remember that your brother holds whatever against you, leave your gift there before the slaughter place and go. First make peace with your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Be well-minded with your opponent promptly while you are on the way with him, lest your opponent deliver you to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Truly, I say to you, you shall by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone looking at a woman to lust for her is already committed adultery with her in his heart. And if your right eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it away from you. For it is better that one of your members perish than for your entire body be thrown into Gehenna. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you. For it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into Gehenna. And it has been said, whoever puts away his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever puts away his wife, except for the matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery. Again, you heard it, that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to Yahweh. But I say to you, do not swear vainly at all, neither by the heaven, because it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Yerushalayim, for it is the city of the great sovereign. Nor swear by your head, because you are not able to make one hair white or black. But let your word be yes, your word yes be yes, and your no be no. And your goes beyond these is from the wicked one. You heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the wicked. But whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other to him also. And he who wishes to sue you and take away your inner garment, let him have your outer garment as well. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks of you, and from him who wishes to borrow from you, do not turn away. You heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do not go to those hating you, and pray for those insulting you and persecuting you, so that you become sons of the Father in the heavens, because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good, and sends the rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those loving you, what reward you have? Are the tax collectors not doing the same too? If you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Are the tax collectors not doing so too? Therefore, be perfect as your Father in the heavens is perfect.
Okay, very good. So if we quickly go over to Luke, Luke really kind of picks up, as I said, kind of at this second half of this reading here. If we look at Luke 6:27, read 27 through 30.
All right, Luke 6:27. But I say to you who are hearing, love your enemies, do good to those hating you, bless those cursing you, and pray for those insulting you. And let him who hits you on the cheek offer the other also. And from him who takes away your outer garment, do not withhold the inner garment either. And give to everyone who asks of you. And from him who takes away what is yours, do not ask it back.
And 32 through 36.
32, 36. And if you love those loving you, what favor have you? For sinners too love those loving them. And if you do good to those doing good to you, what favor have you? Even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those whom you expect to receive back, what favor have you? For even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much back. Rather love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting none in return, and your reward shall be great, and you shall be the sons of the Most High, because he is kind to the thankless and wicked ones. Therefore be compassionate, as your Father also is compassionate.
Okay, very good. All right, so let's go back and look at a few things. We see here Yeshua, let's go back to Matthew chapter 5. we see here Yeshua has these things that he kind of begins each little, subsection with. If we look at verse 21 where he says, "You heard that it was said to those of old." You heard that it was said of those of old. And so it's interesting when we look at the way in which Yeshua here begins each little section, because he reminds the people there of a thing, of a command, of a thought, of a way in which things were traditionally thought of. And when I say traditionally, don't necessarily mean that it's just only dealing with because the Most High in the Torah, has created traditions. All traditions aren't traditions of men, right? And so when we look at what Yeshua is saying over here when he says, you heard that it was said of those of old, the thing that he's saying is Torah. He literally says what is that? Is that the sixth commandment? I don't know the order.
Which commandment?
The number of the commandments.
Murder. What is that?
7 maybe?
Is that right after parents? I don't know.
7?
Is it the sixth commandment?
We gotta go to Exodus, huh? Exodus 20.
I think it is.
I don't know.
You didn't memorize them.
No, I didn't
It
memorize it.
is-
I don't say it every week as men do. I think it's six.
Well, it depends on how you count them.
Well, I'm saying that
It's right after.
the Shabbat is 4, 5 is parents, and then what's 6?
Murder. Yeah, murder.
Murder. Okay, very good. I'll pat myself on the back. Okay, so
I'll let you back.
yeah, I did it already.
He said,
So when you look at Yeshua here, he says, "You shall not murder." Whoever murders shall be liable of the judgment. And so I think that let's go back. Let's go back to what's Matthew 5. I think we got to go back because it's interesting what Yeshua says in the previous verses before he gets to these things over here. It's something that we have to think about moving forward. Go back to Matthew 5. What does read? Go down on your thing there. Matthew 5:17. Read 17 again for us.
yeah, do not think that I come to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete.
Okay, very good. So we have to think about that and have that kind of as the backdrop to everything that Yeshua says for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't come to destroy the Torah, but to fulfill it. So everything that he does is not something that takes away from. Hold on, matter of fact, read also 19 and 20.
Whoever breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so shall be called least in the reign of the heavens. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the reign of the heavens. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the reign of the heavens.
He said, what did he say? Unless your righteousness exceeds
Yeah.
that of the scribes and the Pharisees. He didn't say, unless you kind of just be just how what they is. He said that your righteousness needs to be more righteous than what they are. And so when we think about that as kind of the framework for what he's getting ready to say, it helps us to understand what he actually says a little better. And so when we go back and he says, you heard that it was said that days are old, you shall not murder, he's not getting ready to say, well, now you can murder. They say how you used to not be able to murder, but now you could. That's not what he's about to talk about. He's not saying that. Even when we think about where he says, and whoever murders shall be liable of the judgment. If you murder, something is due to you, right? Something is, when we think about the fact that wrath of the Most High is becomes something that you're owed by him once we cross a particular line. And so when we think about this idea of whoever murders shall be liable of the judgment for murder was death. Like if you killed somebody, you deserve to die. And that's true. He's not changing that. And so, because he already said that he didn't come to change it or destroy it. Right? And so he says what he says there about murder and the fact that whoever murders, you're liable to be judged as a result of what you did. But then when we look at 27 now, which is connected, he takes this idea of kind of not taking away from the commandment, but he's actually enhancing the commandment and making it and taking it to another level. Right? Because he said, what did 22 say right there?
Oh, let me switch back. In Matthew, right?
Yeah, 5:22.
But I say to you that whoever is wroth with his brother without a cause shall be liable to judgment.
Okay, so he's putting that along with what he said in terms of murder, right? And so when you think about the idea of let's look at pull up Matthew 5:22. That we want to look at that word wrath, because this thing that you're doing against your brother without a cause, he's saying you're liable to judgment the same way you would be liable to judgment if you killed somebody. And so we need to figure out what this thing is that he's saying that you shouldn't be doing unprovoked. Because when we do it unprovoked, it's like unto killing somebody. So what is that word there, wrath? To provoke or enrage, to become exacerbated, to be angry, wrath. Look at the word, the study, word study. Yeah, at the bottom there. Yeah. What did I say? To make angry, provoke, to be angry, provoked, arouse, wrath, provoke. It's basically kind of that same thing. Burn up, anger, passion. So when we think about, let's think about this idea of being wroth, angry, exacerbated, enraged, unprovoked. When we think about all of these things, these things are kind of at the opposite side of the spectrum as love. Right? And so if we're loving someone, we can't obviously be enraged and wroth with them and ready to execute our wrath against them if we're dealing with them in love, right? And so we must actually be lacking love for this individual, right? And so when we think about this idea, because the Most High, he wants for us to love our neighbor, right? And so the only way we can get to the place of dealing with them outside of that is dealing with them with this wrath instead. And so he says over here, you are liable for judgment when you're dealing with individuals without a cause in this lack, this state of being in this lack of love. It's interesting when you look at this, as he goes on and says, whoever says to his brother, Raka. Look at that word out there. What's that word mean there? Because that really is like it's really like a cuss. It's a cuss word. It's an ancient, really, it's a cuss word in Hebrew. Now that's Greek there. When you see these Greek words, when it says of Chaldea origin, it's really letting you know. It's really letting you know that they didn't translate that word. They just kind of brought it over from the other language and left it the same. So click on that. It says there, what does it say? Worthless, empty. Click on that H73. Yeah. That's the Hebrew there. Worthless, vain, good for nothing. Now, see, we don't think about the power, the strength of words. We should, but we don't always. And so when you was to say that somebody was just worthless, we think about what it takes to, I can only imagine. I've never murdered anyone, but I can imagine from a conceptual idea, if I take someone's life, I'm treating them as if they're worthless. Mm-hmm. They don't have any value to me from my perspective, and I killed them, right? And so when you think about what it is that Yeshua's saying, if you're saying these things out of your mouth, you're just one step away, really, from the action.
Is that just like tell someone you hate them or something?
Well, Raka, you're worthless. You don't mean anything. Right? Yeah. Because that's where you gotta be at, I guess, right before you kill someone.
Yeah.
And so he's connecting really what's going on inside to the manifestation of that and saying there's no difference between the two. If you're able to get just one step before the physical manifestation, you might as well be there already.
Yeah, that's what he's adding on to, is that the spiritual aspect before you actually commit the murder, the steps before you get there.
And they're just as bad.
Yeah, because he's telling you to check it before it get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Check it at the thought. Because right here you done spoke it.
Mm-hmm.
You spoke it. You know that it came out from behind your teeth. Right? And so the next step is action. And so if you're able to speak these things, you're just one step away from doing it. And so he's saying you're liable of the judgment. Mm-hmm. And so these are things that we got to think about in terms of the way that we are. Like, how many times out of anger do we sit up here and let things come out of our mouth that are just wrong? And the only reason why you saying it is because you mad.
Yep.
Like, in your right mind, you're able to kind of check yourself and not let certain things come out. But in your rage, you know, things might come out.
Yep.
But if you think about what's being said over here now, this thing here is without a cause, though.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even got a reason to be dealing with these people in this way, but you dealing with them like this. Why? Like, this is so far away from the character of the Most High that he's saying that you allowing for yourself to operate in this way, you're liable of the fire of Gehenna. Go ahead.
I was just thinking about like how, people in the, like how, whenever they talk about people in the news, like they dehumanize them. They be like, oh, they had this criminal record and,
I hate that. I can't.
or whatever, and then like, or someone will just kill someone, or the police are now, militaries will just kill people and be like, oh, they was, terror or killers or something like that. People ain't killed nobody yet.
Yeah.
You didn't even let them even be guilty of anything, but you accuse them, you dehumanize them, so then that makes it more permissible for you to kill that life or take that life or put them in jail for the rest of their life and throw away the key. And meanwhile, it's a human person.
Yeah. When you look at the teachings of the Master Yeshua, you're able to understand. You can see, and you look at this and you see what goes on in the world today. You can see the science behind all of this stuff over here.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's exactly what them people do. When you look at, it's a perfect example. When you look at the news, they do it all the time. When these young people, they sit up here and kill somebody, or not even the person that killed somebody who is killed himself. They cause the viewer to be all right with the fact that this person is dead because someone who's a victim, they'll say, last year he was arrested for this, that, and the other thing. Like they give you the record of the victim. So it takes away the compassion that you might have for this person. Like, oh, well, he deserved it. He shouldn't have been out there doing that stuff anyway. It's the thought that it brings about in people's minds. Because they're doing this. They're causing you to think less of these people, dehumanizing them, and causing you in your mind to not to devalue that person's life. Unprovoked.
Yeah.
And so when we look at Yeshua, he is trying to help. It's interesting when we look at Yeshua, because when we think about the idea of really the new covenant, we see kind of we would think about more so it being kind of taught and expounded upon by Paul necessarily, because he's later after the fact and he's given us this idea of the Spirit and allowing for thinking about things like the letter of the law and versus the spirit of the law. These are things that Peter talks about at length. But when we take a closer look at Yeshua and the things that he's saying, this is what he's talking about. He's talking about the fact he's giving you the letter of the law, and then he's giving you the spirit of the law.
Yep.
All right, let's keep on going because there's a lot of things that we want to touch on over here. Go drop down to and if we don't look at all these and you want to look at one that I didn't talk about, just go ahead and bring it up. But I want to drop down to 25. 25. Oh, let's not just skip 23 and 24 because we don't think about the fact that the Most High, Yeshua here wants for us to really be reconciled with one another. He does want for us to be reconciled with one another. And it ain't always about you doing something to somebody. It's one thing to know that you did something to somebody and not deal with it. But sometimes people do stuff to you. And he's saying if you remember that somebody did something to you, somebody feels a way about you and what you did, go and make peace with the person. Not if you remember that you did something to them. But if you remember that somebody is thinking about you in a particular way, go and deal with that and then come back to offer your gift. He said, "Dear, remember that your brother holds whatever against you." Sometimes, I gotta just say, sometimes I think about, people, you think about the fact that, well, this person don't really mess with me, but I didn't do nothing to them, so I don't know what to do about it.
That's their fault.
Don't you put it on them, right? They got a problem. I don't got a problem with them. They got a problem with me. That's how you switch it up. But why though? You don't know. Maybe you don't care to know because you don't. I didn't ever do nothing as far as I know. For some reason, they don't deal with me like that. It's their fault. But I feel like when we look at this over here, it kind of causes us to almost don't even think about what it is that you did because you don't feel like you did anything. But you need to go and find out what it is that they feel like you did or that you did unknowingly. Because, sometimes you say things and it hurts people's feelings and you don't even know that what you said was offensive. I guess I'm a victim of that. I don't. Sometimes I say things and hurt people's feelings. I didn't mean to do it, but I don't know that I did it either. And then somebody's offended, and I don't even know why. But if you don't go and see about it, I think this is one way to look at these verses over here, because it's not always about you feeling a certain kind of way about somebody, but them feeling a certain way about you.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
I think it goes back towards that love component, like really having love for someone is wanting to be a peacemaker. You're seeing that, I don't know what it is, but I know there's something there, maybe on a spiritual level, let me go seek it out to have an atmosphere or environment of peace, because that's my desire, because I ultimately do love you, and I want to squash whatever it is.
Yeah. He said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." That's what he said. And so sometimes, you got to go and seek people out that, disappear from you sometimes, just to make sure. I mean, sometimes I guess there ain't nothing that you can do, but you got to see that you've done all that you can do. And not just be, I guess I gotta say, I'll write somebody off. I'll do it.
Somebody say hallelujah.
I gotta say it. I don't know. I find myself doing that. I guess. I mean, it's not right. It's not right. I don't want to sit up here and try to justify. I'm just saying what is the facts of the matter is, and when. I'm bad enough at keeping in touch with people as it is, just that I don't got a problem with. You know what I mean? If we could have a perfect relationship, flawless, and I just I'm just in my world, existing in my world.
Same here.
But then, let alone somebody who don't like. I just gotta say, I'm thankful for those who aren't like me, who call me and want to talk to me, even though I don't be calling them. If I look at my thing on the thing, every time we talk, you call me. I'm thankful for those ones because if it wasn't like that, I don't know who I would talk to.
I be feeling bad, man. I be like, let me hit this person up. Or
Yeah, it's terrible. But
'cause I'm good.
I'm saying, yeah, but let alone that other person who maybe they not calling me because of something.
You don't even know.
I don't know who those people are. I'm just saying.
You don't know because you didn't call.
I guess.
But if you're listening,
If you're listening.
I know if you out there, hit me up. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I can't call everybody I know. I mean, I guess that's what it would come down to because I don't know. Go ahead.
So my question is this attitude that we are supposed to carry, is it just when called out once, or are we anything?
Well, I think that the idea of love, us behaving in a way of love, don't got nothing to do with the other person. It only got to do with you. And so if I treat you the way you treat me, that's not love. Right? That's not love because it's reactive. We think about the Most High, you know, he called out to us while we was yet in sin. And so if he would have treated us the way we deserve to be treated, that's not him dealing with us in love. So when we think about the idea of love, it's not reactional. And so that goes to whoever. It goes to those that's inside the fence and outside.
So how, and so you made me think of the part where he said, you know, whether someone hits you was to turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll turn that cheek, I'll have a cheek.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna go like this. So
I think that
And
when
in love, I'm coming to you
Yeah.
in love, trying to reconcile. All right, you stop me on this one.
yeah.
That I'm going to say, and this is me in real life, this is me, this is what I do. And I'm gonna say, okay, you know what, maybe this is a bad time, you know, so I'll try again sometime later. But if you slap me on that cheek again, I'm telling you, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's over, it's wrapped.
Yeah.
You know, because, and I know sometimes I think to myself, you know, maybe you should try again. But I can't guarantee you if you swing at me this time, I'm not gonna swing back. I'm just saying, it's just-
Okay, it's gonna go down.
You know, so, and then I'm thinking, like you said, then that's reactionary. At that point,
Yeah.
you know, and trying to walk that tightrope,
Yeah.
you know, and I've been in that situation, and, you know, and I get what you're saying, because I turned to people and they're like, you know what, Bob, I did as much as I can do,
Yeah.
you know, and then I have to turn, because this is a different life, this is a life we live, it's not this is our way of life. And a lot of people don't get our way of life, and they think you're crazy anyway. When you're coming back a second time, you know, and if you tell me something, and I know I shouldn't, but if you tell me something like, you already paid me, so what you want?
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, I'll say nothing now.
Yeah.
And I'll just walk, and sometimes I feel bad, and I'm not gonna lie, most times I don't. After I try, because in my eyes, I'm saying, okay, Bob, you told me to turn the other cheek, I turned the other cheek. You know, then I went back, you know, and I tried again, and I guess I'm saying, how often often do you go back to these people? How often do you know, because I have a short fuse as it is. And, you know, I'm always asking, okay, well, I'm trying. I try to do that thought process. I try to take away after you beat me up for coming. I try to just say, okay, you can take this away from me, take it away from me. You know how I get. I say stuff like that to myself.
Yeah.
Because I know me, and then I question a lot of times, you know, because I was just telling my sister today, I'm strange. You know, people look at me like, you know, you strange. You know.
Yeah.
So,
I think that when we look at, like when you go down in Matthew 5, when he talks about between verses 35 and 42, when he deals with this idea of, you know, the turning the other cheek and all this, think about what that is connected with in terms of verse 38, where it talks about the eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Right? He's taking it back to the Torah. And so again, when we think about the idea of what it is that Yeshua is doing, you know, he said, you have heard it said. He's not talking about like traditions of men. He takes it back to the Torah. And when we think about eye for an eye, if someone does something to you, according to the Torah, you are able to receive a certain thing, you know, as recompense for that. And you should expect it. Right? And so when we think about the way that people are out here in this world, you know, everybody isn't dealing with the Torah. Everybody don't understand the way in which they are supposed to be behaving. But you, on the other hand, are different. And so when you think about someone on the outside, for instance, outside of the fence, someone who hasn't come to the knowledge of the Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, someone who isn't walking in the character of the Most High, we can't expect for that person to behave like a healed person if they're sick.
Yeah.
Right? We look at these people and they get on our nerves. They hurt our feelings. You know, we look at them and we have a certain set of expectations that we might have for this one or that one, because we thinking about how they should be acting instead of really dealing with the way that they are acting and understand, like, I can't treat you like anything else than a sick person because you sick. How can you behave in a way that is congruent with the things that the Most High would have for you to be doing if you're not connected to the Most High? And so I have to be able to operate in an attitude of compassion and grace and not deal with people the way that they deal with me. Because even whether you're talking about somebody who's inside or outside, because sometimes people that's inside, I be acting like they're outside. But that don't change what the standard is.
That's because they be acting like they outside.
Right. And so when we look at what Yeshua is saying over here, there's something that you should be owed. But sometimes you don't always got to look to receive the thing that you're owed. He said, you have heard it said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If you take my tooth, guess what? I'm going to take yours. Now, what Yeshua is saying is, he's not saying that's done away with. But what he's saying is that
For no cost.
you don't got to sit up here and treat this person in that way necessarily. Because they took your tooth in the first place because there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with that person. They plucked your eye out because there's something wrong with that person. Like, you may be owed to get your eye back, but you don't always gotta deal with people in that way, even if they deserve it. Right? If somebody slaps you, they deserve to be slapped back. But do you always have to give the person what it is that they actually deserve? He said no. Go ahead, let them get the other one too. But again, this ain't literal. Like, he's not literally saying,
Yeah.
you know, if somebody slapped you, let them slap the other one too. Like,
Yeah.
but the idea of people, you giving someone what it is that they deserve.
Or let me add, whatever somebody does to you, it's never a reason for you to still not do good to them. So no matter what, if a person going to do wrong to you, you don't find an excuse to do wrong to them. You still always going to do good to them, even though they continue to do wrong to you.
How about just distancing yourself? Is that still?
And that's fine.
I mean, that's something that you might do. And then when you think about the fact, when you think about eye for an eye, right? Someone is treating you in a particular way, and you deserve to receive distance from this person. You deserve that.
Right.
And so you're not wrong for doing that. Because again, he's taking you back to the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
But again, thinking about you, but the thing that brings you back is the fact that, you know, nobody's perfect.
Right.
And so how many times do we gotta fall out of the way that we're supposed to be, and then we look to the Master Yeshua and say, well, here we are again. I failed you again. Mm-hmm. We look for Yeshua to say, it's okay, come on, get back up. You're good. But he could be like, well, this is enough of this. You fall too many times. I'm done with you. I praise the Most High that he ain't like that. But that's what he's calling for us to be doing. Right? Not necessarily, it's not about right or wrong or deserving or whatever. Because again, if we got what it was that we deserved, we wouldn't be here. Right? And so sometimes it is necessary for us to kind of regroup and say, I can't deal with this person right now. I can't deal with the person. It's just, I'm not able to do it. But hopefully we're able to be built up, whether we're building ourselves up or we're being built up to the point where we're able to revisit a particular situation. Because he's about reconciliation. He really is about reconciliation. And so when we look at these verses over here, it's really about not dealing with someone with the thing that they deserve. You know, because he definitely don't deal with us in that way.
Monty, Judah takes it back to the law of the bondservant and how we're the Most High's bondservants, and so he ultimately has the last judgment over everything. You know.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to Jacob too, because in the Torah highlight, because it's like Yah already has it under control, and you know he could talk to these people directly and tell them what's what. You know, sometimes they come back to you and be like, you know, I'm sorry for X, Y, Z. And meanwhile, you wasn't even thinking about that anymore.
Yeah.
But he convicts them of the wrong. that
Yeah.
they might have done, or that they might have done to you or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's always important for us to always think about what the character of the Most High living through us looks like and try to do that. Because if we sit around and think about what it is that, the way in which we're supposed to be dealing with an individual based on what they're doing, I don't believe we ever gonna be doing it right. We always thinking about giving somebody what they're owed, an eye for an eye. It's gonna always be issues, right? Okay, let's go back up. Let's go back up here to 25, verse 25 and 26. Read 25 and 26 again. Actually, just 25.
Be well-minded with your opponent promptly while you are on the way with him, lest your opponent deliver you to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison.
Okay, very good. So it's this is a layered kind of a thing, but you think about the idea of agreeing with your opponent, adversary quickly. It's interesting when you look at the scriptures version, it says to be well-minded. The KJV says agree there, but it's giving you these two Greek words to convey this single concept here. The two words, if you look at that over there, Matthew 5 and 25, where it says well-minded. One of those words means to agree, to give thyself wholly to, and the other one is to be well-minded, to reconcile, to agree. So it's like it's taking these two similar words and adding them together to give you this one idea of agreeing quickly. Right? Where you have a mind of taking the high road. Like when we deal with people, is that how we are you trying to strategize and figure out how it is that you can take the high road? Or are you trying to just give them what they're giving you? Like we talked about that first, right? Only pride's gonna get you to the place of dealing with somebody the way that they dealing with you. Humility is going to be this over here in terms of just agreeing, being well-minded, agreeing with your adversary quickly. That is kind of the attitude, because look at how he follows it up, right? Because you're dealing with this person, and so when you deal with people in a particular way, there can be consequences that go along with these things that it's just going to be what it's going to be. Somebody come and slap me, I could slap him back. And then he going to call the police. And then we got to go to court and go through all the things. And depending on whose story's better is whoever, and whatever the judge say at that point is what you got to deal with. And so now you had to go through all of these consequences where you could have just dissolved the whole situation from the beginning. And so did the person deserve to be slapped? Yes. But now look at what you got to go through as a result of it. And so that's what Yeshua is talking about over here. This person's coming against you. It's not even about the right or wrong, but have you thought about all of the consequences that could potentially come as a result of you being right,
That's right. Oh, yeah.
quote unquote.
I was thinking about the lady in the parking ward in front of her house, and she got the gun out, and then she had to tell a story.
I know, that was crazy. I watched this crazy thing happen in front of my house. And it was like watching TV. It was like watching a TV show. These people got into the situation about parking.
going
And
down
then
the
next
street,
thing you
going down
know,
the street. She
next
trying to
thing,
get on the street.
the lady was trying to, at the end of the day, it was about parking. And it came down to gunplay about parking. The police came, was involved, and everything else. And so I'm just saying, sometimes it's not necessarily about right or wrong, necessarily. You have to think about all of the things that, you know, in terms of the consequences, what could potentially happen once you take a thing to a particular place. There ain't no turning back from that. And so Yeshua is saying these things can all be prevented if we behave in a particular way.
Oh, yeah, right.
All right, let's keep on going. All right, what's that last comment say there?
Ecclesiastes 3:7. A time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. We can learn much from discerning Yah's timing as well.
Yeah. And wisdom is the principal thing, right? The proper use of knowledge, knowing when to do what and where and why and when and all of these things. These are key, not moving out of emotion, right? Okay, let's keep on going here. He talks about here. I want to just briefly talk about 30. Read 31 and 32 here.
It has been said, whoever puts away his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever puts away his wife, except for a matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery.
Okay, very good. I think that is interesting. Briefly, I think it's interesting when we look at these. It's interesting to look at the words that are used here, because we think about this verse and people talk about the idea of divorce and can you do it, can you not do it. But let's look at these. Look at these words. Verse 31. It says, "Whoever puts away his wife." What's that word there? Puts away.
To free, fully, that is literally relieve, release, dismiss, depart, let die, pardon, divorce, dismiss, forgive, let go, loose, put away, release, set at liberty.
Okay, look at the King James Concordance. Scroll down. Nah, you could look. Yeah, you can look at it that way. Yeah.
The King James is
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this for a second here. Occurrences. What's it say? Occurrences 10 times. Hold on. What's that? Hebrew? Hold on. Click on that G630 word, where it's translated as "put away" right there.
there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Go to the other one. Occurrences, 111 times. 27 times it means away. Go. Okay, keep going. Put. It's translated as these words this many times. Release 13. Let 10. Sent. Keep on going. Send, released, act, depart, dismissed. It's used all of these different ways, all of these times. Keep on going. Set, departed, divorced, one. One time. Okay, keep on going. Forgive, attested, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the point here is that most of the time this word is used, it don't mean divorce. It means put away, because there's a distinction. There's a distinction. Look, now go back. Go back to 31. and where it says, let him give her a certificate of divorce, a writing of divorcement. That's another number. It's close, but it's a different number. Okay? And so that there is the actual bill of divorce. So 31 says, whoever puts away his wife, you put her away. And then now you got to do this other thing. You got to give her a divorce. It has been said, whoever puts her away, make sure you actually divorce her. It's not saying whoever divorces his wife, divorce her. Whoever decides to put her away, to send her to somewhere else, away from him, make sure that you give her a writing of divorcement. Verse 32, whoever puts away, he said, whoever, I say, however, whoever puts her away, this is the same word that is used the first time, except for a matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery. Now, we got to think about what is being said over here. If I put you away, I need to give you a bill of divorce. But if I put you away because you was whoring, the bill of divorce is not necessary. Because you done already, you've severed the covenant through your actions. And so whoever marries a woman who was put away, if you marry somebody who was only just put away, you commit adultery. Now that makes sense to me. And again, that word there, put away, is not divorce. Because the Torah gives us Deuteronomy 24, 1 through 4, gives you in the Torah the ability for someone to divorce his wife and she go away and she could marry somebody else. And that marriage was valid. But if we think about what's actually being said over here, if you put somebody away and then the person who's only just put away, she can't marry someone because she was never divorced. That's why. You need to have a bill of divorcement. Unless there is adultery, now you've broken the covenant in a way that's unrepairable. And so I don't got to give you. Actually, when you think about this bill of divorce, it's a clean break, and it's kind of like a no guilt clause. It's a writing of innocence. I can't deal with this person. We have irreconcilable differences. You wasn't a harlot. You can go. You can be free. Right? But you can't get that paper if you was a harlot, though. You can't get a clean write-off if you was that. Huh? There's judgment. You wasn't getting nothing. In fact, you was probably getting a rock on your head. A whole bunch of them. And so we look at this thing, these verses over here, and we think about the way that people talk about them, where they talk about this idea of you not even being able to have a divorce unless there was adultery. I don't know that this is saying that right there, because it's using a whole other word, put away, and then there's this other word that means divorce, and these two words aren't the same word. Okay. Anybody have any thoughts about that? Did I? Wow, that is right. I got a whole video about that. You could go ahead and check that out. Yeah, so I'll be talking about this stuff. I don't even remember. Okay, let's drop down. Let's go down to the bottom. It's interesting when we look at these final verses, we look at 43 down through 47, where it talks about this idea of, first again, he says, you heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor. And he keeps on going with all of these different kinds of ways in which you should be doing this, right? And then again, we look at Luke chapter 6, where he kind of, these are the things that Luke is emphasizing, this idea of loving your enemies, do good to those that hate you, bless those that curse you, and pray for those that insult you. Again, it's helping us to understand what love is. Because you're behaving in a particular way that don't have nothing to do with them. And we see that through the words of the master over here. When he's talking about this idea of loving your enemies, doing good to those that hate you, blessing those that curse you, that's showing you what love actually is. It's not reactional. It don't have nothing to do with what they said to you. It don't got nothing to do with how they're treating you. It got everything to do with you and who you are. And the way in which you are moving. And it's interesting that he follows the whole thing up with verse 48, where he says, therefore be perfect as your Father in the heavens is perfect. We look at Luke 6 and 36, therefore be compassionate as your Father also is compassionate. We have to be manifesting the characteristics of the Ruach HaKodesh in us, which is the character of the Most High in us. And when we're doing those things, we're manifesting these things over here. And so, when he's talking to these people who are thinking about all these things that they've heard before, you heard these things already, but you're not doing them the way that they're supposed to be done. It's the people who are the worst kind of people, the tax collectors, is able to love somebody that loved them. But what about loving somebody who don't love you? Love that person. When you do that, then you're moving the way that the Most High is calling for you to be moving. And so it's interesting when we look at these things that Yeshua is saying over here, where he's giving you these commandments, these things that are taken straight from the Torah and putting more demand on us in terms of how it is that we're supposed to actually be manifesting these things that we should already know about.
You said it again? I didn't hear you supposed to do what?
I'm supposed to pray for
Oh,
them.
pray for them.
And at first, I was like, I didn't want to pray for them. But in spite of how I was feeling about him, I ended up praying for him. And I just realized when he said what he said about how we're supposed to be, it freed me. It freed me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it did for him, but what it did for me was, it did take away my anger, it took away everything that I was feeling. And the only thing, the word I use is free, it freed me. Because now when I see that thing, I speak to him. We still don't speak, but I still speak to him. And I don't speak to him begrudgingly, I speak to him. How you doing? I don't care if he doesn't speak.
Yeah.
But I speak. So I think differently. So I get it now. It just clears.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. It's a free, it's a releasing
Yeah.
for us.
Right, because when we treat people the way they treat us, it takes us out of our character. And then now you get these things, these roots of bitterness growing inside of you, and then you start looking at that person like, man, all of that, right? And so it takes you down a path that you don't want to go down. Instead of, doing what it is that Yeshua is suggesting, you find out it brings you to a whole nother place. And then you're able to have a different perspective, the right perspective about things, where it's like, whatever. Sometimes it makes you feel good to be nice to somebody who is bad to you. I don't know if that's right or if it's wrong, but sometimes that's the case.
It feel good that I can speak to him, knowing he's not gonna open his mouth.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of really glad, because he's a man, first of all, So, but not even that, but just that release that I got once I started, and I still pray for him.
Yeah, it's kind of like control and power. Like they're like a puppet master with strings on you, where they can just make you do what they want you to do, which is wrong. Like I got control of my own stuff. You don't got control of me. You can't make me mad at you. How you gonna sit up here and control me? You're not the controller of me. But that's what happens,
Yeah, that's true.
right? When somebody sit up here and treat you a certain kind of way, yeah, like you're a robot. Like you're their master and you do what they say do.
You're your master.
Yeah, I don't care what these people say to me. I don't care. It don't matter. So what? You're not the controller of me. It's fun. To me, it's a fun little game that I play just with myself. People could say whatever they want to say, really, to me. But it don't hurt me. It don't affect me.
Yep.
In fact, you don't really even know me.
Yep.
These people out here. So I don't care. It don't matter what people say. How they treat me, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Because they're not the controller of me. The Messiah is. The Most High is the controller of me. He's the one who says how I'm supposed to be, and I do that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was being obedient. I didn't know that, I couldn't identify internally how I was feeling whenever I speak to him. I don't speak to him and feel like, yeah, he don't want to speak. I don't feel like that. I feel real good when I speak to this man and he doesn't speak to me, because I feel like I was obedient. That's how I felt.
You're honoring the Most High. You're honoring the Most High when you do that. Instead of dealing with him the way he's dealing with you, you're dealing with him the way the Most High will have for you to do.
Because again, that brings it back to the bond servant, because Yah is our master, so we deal people the way he tells
Yeah,
us.
he's Paul talks about when you go and do your work, you work as if unto the master. I'm not out here doing it for these people. I'm out here doing it for the Most High. And that's how we live our life. You live your life as unto the Father, not as unto however it is that these people out here is dealing with you. They're irrelevant.
Yep.
They don't dictate your life. The Most High does.
Yep.
And so that's how we got to move out here and deal with this world, from that perspective. He is your controller, not these people. Okay, very good. All right, so does anybody have any other thoughts, questions, or comments before we go ahead and be done here?
I do, I have one last one.
Go ahead.
I took a little bit of time to learn about like the brain and how like the upper part of your brain is like the logical part, and the bottom part is your more emotional part. And what it sounds like is like love is a lot more logical than it is emotional. Because it's like he's giving you these despite on how you feel, despite on how what it looks like, you're supposed to always be in this critical thinking, logical state of mind on how you're supposed to deal with people. So I just found that to be really interesting today, because I'm always thinking of love as mushy and gushy. And,
Yeah, it's not.
you know, but it's not that at all. It's a very high level state of mind to be in, to be able to operate in this level of love.
Yeah, there's not, I can't even add nothing to that. That's what it is. And, you know, it's just, you know, the Most High is very scientific. The Most High is. I always say that. You know. And it's interesting whenever we look at these things and be able to make those connections and see that, you know, to me, it just gives more credence to the validity of who the Most High is. When we look at this, His creation, us, and, you know, it helps us to see Him even more.
Let me add, the more emotional you are, the less spiritual you are.
Yes.
Guarantee it. The more emotional you are, the less spiritual you are.
Yeah.
It's a fact. That's a fact.
Period.
Period.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, I guess we'll go ahead and be done. It's interesting, just as you know, final thoughts. You know, thinking about the fact that when we look at Yeshua, He calls us. He's talking to these people who are, in fact, followers already of the Most High, and part of the thing that He is doing, His job here is bringing the people to a higher place. You know, he ends off in this chapter and talk about the fact of being perfect as the Father in heaven is perfect. People probably thought that they was living in a way that they should be living, but the things that the Master is bringing forth is this this idea of maturity and moving forward in the Father and His character in this world. So we want to always be on that mission of maturity and you know, moving in an upward direction as it relates to our life in the Master. Okay, so for now we'll go ahead and say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And y'all willing, next week we'll be back with more.